last year, Elite Eight the season before. They're 6-10 in conference play. They've lost 5 straight and coming off a 29-point home loss to Duke. Georgia Tech has dropped 5 out of 6, and the Yellow Jackets come off a 24-point home loss to Clemson, and we get an early whistle. It's a shot clock issue. Officials today, Roger Ayers, Tony Henderson, and Trey Steins.
Georgia Tech comes out in man-to-man, and we saw them this morning at shoot-around, playing against the Miami team. Defending a lot of ball screen action is going to be key in this game for Georgia Tech on the defensive side. Miami runs a lot of actions with their bigs and guards.
Omier knocks down the straightaway 3. Starting lineups for Georgia Tech. The freshman Nate George has cooled off a bit. They really need to get Kowacie Reeves going again. He struggled in his last 5. Miles Kelly is the leading scorer. He's got the ball now. He's been feast or famine at times in conference.
So I think the focus this morning for Damon Stoudemire's staff, ball movement. He felt their guys were trying to do too much individually man-to-man. He wants to see the ball swinging left to right and a lot more assisted buckets.
Reeves passed on the 3, drives on Omier, and Dongo knocked it out of bounds. Starting lineups for Miami. Matthew Cleveland returns after missing the last game with an illness. Nigel Pack still out. He's now missed 3 straight games with a knee injury. And Wugga Poplar has scored in double figures in 4 straight, but he's still playing through an ankle that he suffered back in December. And there is Bensley Joseph, now 11 of his last 21 from downtown.
Well, that's 2 threes for Miami. And defending the three-point line, again, Miami a team, in particular with Omier, we talked about his improved jumper, although that's a beautiful set play and finish by Georgia Tech. You talk about assisted buckets, my goodness. Nice alley-oop lob.
Dongo to the UMass transfer, Tafara Gapari. Kyshawn George knocks down a 3. He needed to see that go in. Previous 2 games, he was 1 for 11. This is a guy that scouts see as a big-time pro prospect.
Yeah, and we have a couple scouts here in the building this afternoon, and that's 3 threes for Miami. And I think the key thing is their clean looks. That's got to change. Georgia Tech's got to do a better job contesting the three-point line.
Kowacie Reeves from the outside. He had been just 3 of his last 16 from downtown, and it's interesting, Georgia Tech has not shot the 3 ball well in its last 5 games. Miami has struggled to defend the 3 in their last 5.
Early on, both teams seem not to be missing much on the offensive side.
Miami's 4 for 4 as Poplar's got 5.
Jim Larinaga talks about Poplar as one of the more gifted athletes that he's ever coached.
There is Jim Larinaga. Last 2 seasons, the 2 deepest runs in March in the history of Miami basketball.
Yeah, Elite 8, Final 4. Hall of Fame coach.
No doubt.
It's simple. I mean, one of the best in the business. And really, again, a difficult team to match up against. Big thing this year, though, has been their health. They just not been able to field the full team with their starting unit and also guys coming off the bench. That's really been the storyline for this Miami team.
Reeves, straightaway 3, got it. Kowacie Reeves has 6. He had been averaging only 5 a game over his last 5.
He has got it going early.
That's a good sign. Georgia Tech doesn't have a ton of offensive depth. They need their top guys, Kelly, Reeves, Dongo, to play well. Joseph misfires. And here comes Kelly.
And you can hear the Georgia Tech coaches talking about ball movement, swing it. Don't hold the ball, don't let it stick. And this is about as good a start as you can ask for on the road if you're Damon Stoudemire.
Miles Kelly to 3. Georgia Tech perfect 3 for 3 from downtown. And we get a foul on Gapari.
And this is all set up again. Excellent ball movement. The ball's going left to right. That's not a bad D. That's a guy, though, hitting a contested almost from the logo.
Dongo, the block. Kapari down the lane, off the window, too strong. And this is where Miami's dangerous. In transition, Joseph catch, release. It's tipped to Reeves.
And that's great blocking out that time by Georgia Tech. Omer, again, one of the best rebounders in college. They had 2 bodies on him. That's excellent job of team rebounding against Norchad Omer.
Kelly's 3, too strong. Jim Larinaga said his team is at its best when they defend, rebound, and then run.
2 pretty clean looks that time by Miami, just unable to knock down open looks.
A lot of dribbling by Kelly. Dongo setting the screen for George. Over to Reeves. He's usually pretty good from the corner. And now Poplar wants to push.
Shoulder.
Omer, not there. Miami has missed 6 in a row after making its first 4.
And you'll live with that if you're a Georgia Tech. Omer shooting a contested 3. I think that's the key thing. The one he made earlier, not contested. You don't mind him shooting from the perimeter as long as that's contested.
Kelly running into some trees, shoots over Omer, and Miles Kelly knocks it down. 4th 3 of the game already for Georgia Tech.
Yeah, I mean, that's on fire. 4 of 6, 67% to start this game off for Georgia Tech. And Miami's going to have to adjust. Too many open looks early on.
Cleveland answers. No, he can't. And Kelly knocked it out of bounds. Georgia Tech.
See, the problem has been they've been unable to just practice as a unit, let alone play as a healthy, intact unit. And that obviously, as you said, has been the storyline for this Miami team.
And coming into today, one of the stories was a Miami defense that struggled defending the 3 over the last 5 against a Georgia Tech team that has struggled making the 3. So far, what gives? Well, Georgia Tech is 4 for 6 from deep.
Yeah, and it's been off of good ball movement. Again, they worked all shoot around, swinging the ball, running their sets. Both teams, it seems like, don't want to defend the 3-point line. Both teams well over 40% from beyond the arc.
Meanwhile, Paul Jobay, who started last game in place of Matthew Cleveland, the Frenchman, comes off the bench, knocks off a 3-pointer.
And look at the ball movement. Again, dribble, drive, and pitch. Simple basketball. That's something that Coach Larinaga preaches. Again, assisted baskets, and that's a key to Miami. He wants to see more of that from his team on the offensive side.
Reeves misfires, tipped into the air. It's Omer. Both teams have 14 points, 12 of the 14 for both teams coming off 3s.
And Anish, that's twice now Omer has tipped the ball to himself as we take a look at Matthew Cleveland. But I'm going to go back way. A lot of these young folks don't understand how good Dennis Rodman was. But he was one of the few guys I saw that would tip rebounds to him 2-3 times. And Omer, we've seen that twice now in this game where he's tipped the ball to himself for a rebound.
Good ball movement. Kelly catch, release, in and out. Offensive rebound. And the lay-in by Tyjon Claude, who led the SoCon in rebounding a season ago at Western Carolina.
And that's something that Coach Stoudemire and staff talked about. But those plays right there, second chance opportunities, 50-50 balls. He felt like that's something that my team, I was on them about. You have to fight for those extra possessions early on. I think they're doing a pretty good job.
Omer bowling balls to the rim, went right at Claude.
Not too sure how many people are going to be able to stop Norchad Omer when he gets a full head of steam going down the lane.
Here comes George, pulls up, left it way short, might have been tipped. Claude battling for the rebound, it comes to Reeves.
Another second chance opportunity created by Claude.
Here's Sturdivant, he's been one of the top 6 men in the ACC. led Georgia Tech in scoring the last 2 games. Knocked into the air. Kelly bounces it on the floor. Tipped. Joe Bay diving forward, stolen away. Up ahead, Kelly in front of the pack, lays it in.
When you add up who wins the 50-50 balls, those hustle plays, those are winning plays right there. Again, it may seem like a little thing, but guys are locked in, trying to get those extra opportunities, and that's something Damon Stoudemire, he was not happy about. He did not mince words about that, but that has changed in this game right here.
Stolen away. Sturdivant knocks down the triple. Georgia Tech 5 for 10 from three-point land. Jim Larinaga told us at shoot-around, part of what's been going wrong, too many turnovers of late. And Georgia Tech has not been a team that turns you over a ton. Good ball movement so far by the Yellow Jackets.
You can hear the Georgia Tech coaches continuing to tell their players, keep moving the ball.
Sturdivant again for 3. Air ball. Claude keeps it in bounds. And I think we have an issue with the shot clock. They'll look at the clock. We'll step aside. Norchad O'Meara leading the way for Miami. Tech doing it from distance. After Wednesday's 24-point loss to Clemson, we asked him about his comments at shoot-around earlier, and he wanted to clarify. He said, look, part of that is a reflection on me. The teams that he had at Pacific, he said, were built on toughness, and he felt there were times in that Clemson game where he didn't feel the compete level was at a high enough level for his liking, and he felt that, hey, late in that game, they gave up a little. He didn't want to see that in his team. He said, that's a reflection of me. It was a way to get through his team. He probably wishes he could have chosen his words better, but that was a message to his team. I want to see you compete.
Well, I understood the message pretty clear, and if anybody knows Damon Stoudemire, and I played against Damon Stoudemire, if you're a Georgia Tech fan or anybody associated with that, I'm happy that he is upset after a game like that, because they have responded, and that was more about, as he said, it's a reflection of me at how hard they play, and he felt like they were not competing. You can see early on in this game, they are responding, they are matching the energy and then some against the Miami team.
Cleveland hits the mid-range jumper. On the other end, Tafara Gapari hit a 3. He had missed his previous 18 from 3, and in fact, earlier this year, during a shoot-around for an opponent, one of the players on that opposing team went to close out on the scout team player who was mimicking Ghaffari, and the coach blew the whistle and said, no, let him shoot. We're not defending that. He's not going to make that. That's got to be a confidence booster for Tafara Gapari.
Yeah, it's open looks. I think that's the key thing. You're absolutely right. Obviously, that's huge, but I'm going back to the ball movement. I think both these teams, but in particular Georgia Tech, to start this game off, they're doing a great job swinging the ball. You look at the assist in this game, 7-7. Both teams have 7 assists in this game, only 3 turnovers.
No O'Meara in there for Miami. Let's see if Georgia Tech tries to go inside. Debo Coleman into the game for Georgia Tech. He'd missed the last 4 with concussion-related symptoms. George from the corner. Right now, Georgia Tech seems quicker to a lot of the loose balls. Miami able to get this one back, and Cleveland glides in. He's got 6.
And one of the few 50-50 balls that Miami has come up with, in Cleveland, the beneficiary that time, clear path for the uncontested layup.
Rebound by Nwoko, the big freshman. Malcolm, Miami already has more points in this first half than they did Wednesday against Duke. Nwoko misfires. Georgia Tech's going to give him that shot all day.
Yeah, you'll live with that again. contested jumper, that's where you want him shooting.
Coleman a three. Georgia Tech 7 threes in this first half. They've got 10 field goals in all.
All set up, great ball movement. Every time that ball is not sticking, less than a second, that ball's either shot or they're swinging the ball. Excellent offense early by Georgia Tech.
George with a deep three. Both teams have taken more than half their shots from beyond the arc. For Georgia Tech, 16 of their 22 shot attempts are threes. Make it 17 out of 23, and the friendly roll for George. This is a Georgia Tech team that's had its struggles on offense. They've been below 70 points in 5 straight as we get a whistle, but 11 of 23 from the field, 8 of 17 from 3.
It has been a 3-point exhibition right here. Great ball movement, extra pass. Both teams hot from beyond the arc. And on the other end, George with the answer.
More than 40 years ago, Wake Forest, not long ago, knocked off Duke at Lawrence Joel Coliseum. Kyle Filipowski appeared to get injured during the ensuing court storm, and Wake began the day as not just one of the first 4 out, but Joe Lunardi's first team out. This puts them safely in the tournament field for now, and you would think, barring no bad losses the rest of the way, a win against Duke, it gives Wake another quad 1 win, their second of the year. This should make Wake fans feel pretty good.
Absolutely, no doubt, and I think it goes to the strength of this ACC conference. But as we're going to take a look at, they're going to go review this, but the Filipowski news, to me, something's got to be done about the court storming. Again, I love the college atmosphere. I love that students are into it, but that's a dangerous situation. We caught a little bit of it where you have students really unimpeded running out onto the court as other players are trying to get off. It was bound to happen.
Now, the video of Filipowski getting hurt, that's going to be the college basketball Zapruder film in the coming days. It's going to be analyzed and dissected every which way. Right now, the officials went to the monitor to see if that foul on Wooga Poplar was anything more than a common foul, and they say, nope, basketball play, common foul. Only the first team foul on Miami.
Veteran crew, and I love it where they take one look at it, make an assessment, and then play on. Excellent job by the refs, not taking a whole lot of time at the monitor.
Miami always looking to push. George, the trailer, lines up a three, and Kyshawn George with his 3rd triple. He's got 9.
And Damon Stoudemire talked to us at shoot-around. Transition D was going to be key. You can't run any better that time by Miami. Cave the defense in, throw it back out for a wide-open 3. Excellent transition offense by Miami.
Dongo with the size advantage. Here's the double. Dongo the fade. He has gotten exponentially better with his low post moves through the course of this season.
Key thing, again, you take a look at Damon Stoudemire's staff, led by assistant Carl Hobbs. They do a great job working with these young players.
Bensley Joseph hits the 3. And Dongo's got a pretty good assistant coach to work with on those post moves in Bonzi Wells, as Miles Kelly drills it from deep.
Bonzi Wells, one of the better to do it in that post area, mid-post, low post. And we saw him out there in shoot-around running around. He looks like he can still go get a double-double.
Kyshawn George with 11. His previous 2 games, he had scored a total of 2 points, was 1 for 11 from the field. Remember, he had that ankle injury against Virginia. That was the start of a 5-game losing streak for Miami.
And it's easy to see why NBA scouts and execs are so excited about this young player. He's got all the physical tools, great shot, but right there, I think that's the area where he continues to get better, driving the ball in traffic.
Cleveland playing defensive back, driving on George, wild shot, and he gets the foul, and Cleveland is down momentarily on the baseline. And Cleveland still down. His teammates huddled around him. Miami has just not been able to escape the injury bug this season. Nigel Pack out today with a knee. Pack's dealt with a back, an ankle. Cleveland missed the last game after food poisoning. Every starter has missed at least one game.
And Nigel Pack, obviously not having him there. Again, it's just been that type of season for Coach Larrañaga and his staff. As you take a look at Nigel Pack right there in street clothes and, just unable to practice. And again, that's hurt, obviously, all phases, defensively, offensively, to have any really continuity. Just really a tough situation to coach through.
And Huck, Miami's never been a team that likes to go 9, 10 deep. Jim Larrañaga's always featured a tight rotation. So when you add injuries to it and now you're playing guys who probably don't factor into your rotation, you get exposed pretty quickly, and that's what's happened.
Yeah, he's playing some young guys that, quite honestly, he wasn't planning on playing a lot of minutes. And the only good thing about that is they're gaining valuable experience. But certainly a team that the previous 2 seasons, getting Elite 8 and then Final 4, certainly hurts the expectations coming in when your key guys have been out for extended time.
Matthew Cleveland got off to such a terrific start this season, and last 8 games, production down. He's only averaging about 9 a game. Prior to that, he was averaging more than 16 a game.
And we talked with Coach L about Cleveland's progress. He said, look, similar to what a lot of guys have been dealing with, when he's been healthy, he's felt like he's had a really solid season. He's been playing through some injuries, and certainly that has impacted his production.
The Frenchman Joe Bay back in there. Is he now in Jim Larrañaga's circle of trust? Here's George. Over to Joseph. Lays it in for 2. Miami is lethal in transition.
And that's a heads-up play by George. Again, a lot of young players would have held on to that ball, tried to hold it too long and make a play for themselves. Saw Joseph going up, gave it up early. Excellent play that time by the freshman, Kyshawn George.
A 4-point lead for Miami in a game that's featured 8 ties and 6 lead changes already. Dongo with a nice move down low.
So impressive. Seeing Dongo, again, he showed you the turnaround jumper that time. Size advantage, don't settle. Spin move to the baseline, soft finish.
Poplar from deep, that's the 8th 3 for Miami, and they've made 5 straight from the field.
Well, 4:09 left in this game, a little under 4 minutes in. Both these teams may have over 10 threes in the first half.
Miami's got more points today than they had in the Virginia game, over 40 minutes. Sturdivant doubled. And that baseline serves as a 3rd defender. George leans in. Nate George, the freshman, first freshman to pass the 100 assist threshold at Georgia Tech since Iman Shumpert back in the 08-09 season, and George gets fouled. It'll be on Miles Kelly. Both teams. Game summary so far, Miles Kelly and the freshman Kyshawn George leading the way for their respective teams. Both teams lights out from 3.
Yeah, you look at Georgia Tech, their last 5 games, only 27% from the 3-point line. Today, 50%, 9 of 18, and Miami 8 of 14 from the 3-point line. Both teams doing a great job moving the ball in transition or in their half-court sets.
Georgia Tech came into the game only averaging about 8 threes a game, a little less than 8 threes. Miami came in conference play giving up about 10 threes a game, and it's still just the first half. 2 teams that have had their issues of late offensively.
Yeah, they really have. Right now, though, Miami man-to-man, they're switching anything. Any ball screen or down screens, they're switching 1 through 5.
Sturdivant, step back on O'Meara. Rebound, Joseph. Bensley Joseph had lost his starting job to Kyshawn George as we get a foul. but injuries have forced him back into the lineup, especially with Pack out. Sturdivant picks up the foul.
And that last play right there, Anish, sums up the versatility of Omer. He switches out onto a guard, Sturdivant, forces him into a contested three or jump shot, and then beats everybody down the court for a post-up.
Omer over Dongo too much. Jim Larinaga has said Norchad Omer has the green light to bring the ball up on a fast break. A lot of trust in the big man. Sturdivant smooth.
And that's all set up by George. Again, Damon Stoudemire, one of the better point guards to do it. A long NBA career, coached in the NBA, coached in college, and now at Georgia Tech. But the growth of George underneath him, that's a beautiful dribble drive and dish by the freshman point guard.
Poplar the pull-up. Damon Stoudemire's message to George has been, hey, be careful about wasting your energy. Get other guys involved. Don't force it. As cliche as it sounds, let the game come to you. Shot fake by Sturdivant, the block by Joseph. Dongo swings it to Kelly, and the three is good. 11 threes in the opening half for Georgia Tech. Kelly's got 4 of them. He's got a game-high 14.
Second chance opportunities. Again, they're beating Miami to those loose balls. And again, the message received that was given by their head coach.
George gets free. He's got 16. That's his 4th three. If you hadn't seen these teams over the last couple of weeks, you wouldn't think offense was an issue. Both teams pouring it on. 49-45, a minute left, opening half. Dongo off balance. There's George again. 16 points, 5 assists for Kyshawn George. Joe Bay right through everybody. I think he was surprised by how open he was. Jim Larinaga winced at the other end. Joe Bay had an open layup and couldn't make it. I think he was waiting for somebody to pick him up.
I mean, he faked the dribble handoff and then went right down the lane. Nobody with him, just missed the layup.
Timeout, Jim Larinaga. 29 seconds to go in a high-scoring opening half. What a massive win it is for Wake Forest, but it's going to be about court storming. It's going to be about the health of Kyle Filipowski. John Shire was heated in his post-game press conference and basically said, when are we going to ban court storming? And he also revealed that Filipowski has a sprained ankle.
And this could be the moment. Again, it's not about, listen, I love the college atmosphere. Make no mistake about it. Can't have guys getting injured after a game.
Cleveland beats the shot clock and it spins out. Final tick, Sturdivant lets it fly, and the first half comes to an end. Miami had been struggling offensively. Georgia Tech had been struggling offensively.
The guy, Duron Sheffer, for UConn, that was a little ahead of him that time, but Ray shows flashes.
Oh, Gapari, thunder coming down the tracks.
First 5 minutes of the second half, coaches talk about that. How do you come out? Oh, that's pretty good right there with authority down the lane. Monster jam.
Kyshawn George, 16 points, 5 assists in the opening half. Joseph's 3 raises the rim. Kelly with 14 in the first half to lead Georgia Tech. He lines up a deep 3. Give him 17, his 5th triple.
Well, Damon Stoudemire may have Ray Allen come and speak to his team every game moving forward if they keep shooting this way. My goodness.
Ray Allen's about to be on payroll. George down the lane, Euro step, rebound Gapari. Bounce pass up ahead to Reeves.
Fast break of the year, pass of the year nominee. You cannot thread the needle any better than that right there. My goodness. That might be the transition play of the year right there by Georgia Tech.
Rush the shot, Reeves diving for it. Back to Cleveland, fresh 30. They'll say Georgia Tech had possession. And Poplar fouled on the drive. Kapari picks up his third.
Well, you cannot run offense any better right here. Down the lane with authority. And then right here, transition break of the year right here. One pass that led to an uncontested dunk. My goodness, you talk about threading the needle.
Kapari stays in there with the 3 fouls. 7-0 Georgia Tech run to begin the half. Joseph denied. 15 of Georgia Tech's 20 baskets have been assisted. Kelly on the drive, 19 for him. And a timeout by Jim Larinaga as Georgia Tech opens the second half with a blitz. A 9-0 run out of the chasing Syracuse, which won today against Notre Dame. They're a couple of games behind Syracuse in the loss column, and the Orange have the head-to-head win against Miami.
Yeah, and I think obviously the key thing with Miami, their health. Nigel Pack, again, out today. One of the better guards, not just in the ACC, but in college basketball. And again, you have to start thinking about trying to get your guys healthy going into the ACC tournament if you're Jim Larinaga. On the other end, Georgia Tech, you have to be pleased if you're Damon Stoudemire. Your guys have responded when you've challenged them about their energy and effort. That question has been answered. In particular, in that first half, really did a phenomenal job, and then to start off the second half.
Tech coming off a 24-point home loss to Clemson. Miami coming off a 29-point home loss to Duke. No Cleveland or Pack in that game. Omier on Dongo, knocked out of bounds by the freshman.
Well, Nate George lucky on that screen. That time that's on his big. He's talking to Dongo. He's got to call that screen. He ran right into Norchad Omier, and a lot of times the expression running into the wall is thrown out. That's what it's like when you run into Norchad Omier. That thing is not moving.
Omier's been quiet today, just 5 points. 4 to shoot. Poplar gives it up. Joseph has to put it up. And Miami still without a basket, still without a point in the second half.
And great job of blocking out that time by Dongo.
Kelly feeling it, just short. Here's Poplar. And there's Miami's first field goal and first points of this second half.
Degree of difficulty off the charts that time by Poplar. My goodness, in transition, weaving through 2 guys, and then weird angle was able to get it to go off the glass.
Kapari, no good from 3. He's now missed 19 of his last 20 from 3. George against George. And the foul, and if that is Kapari, that's number 4, but they say it's on Nate George, his second.
And again, look at this right here, weaving through 2. Look at the angle. Eyes on the rim the entire time. That's great concentration and body control. And back to what Coach L says about Poplar. He's one of the more gifted athletes that he's coached, and you can see right there with that body control and athleticism on display in transition.
A young man who really only started playing basketball seriously as a high school sophomore. Was a big baseball player before that. Joseph on the drive. Good defense by Kapari. Sturdivant. The lob for Dongo with the throwdown.
My goodness. Dongo with the elbows above the rim, and that's a beautiful find by Sturdivant in transition.
Omier using the shot fake. Joe Bay from the outside. They call him the French Connection.
What a pass, though, by Omier. Shot fake, dribble drive, and then kick it out, looking like a guard. Excellent read that time by Norchad Omier.
Popeye Doyle and Cloudy Russo would be proud. Reeves for 3. Too strong. Miami can tie with a 2. Joseph rejected by Gapari. Sturdivant keeps it in bounds.
What a recovery and hustle to keep that ball alive and in play for Georgia Tech.
So far, Gapari has played a really strong all-around game today.
And that's the key word, all around. On both ends, he's been impactful.
Down low, it's Dongo. Poplar is fouled by Kelly. With the injuries and guys playing through injuries, it zapped some of their offensive firepower.
Well, I think the biggest thing has been, as you said earlier, defensively, they've just been unable to defend. Look, even with the injury, as we take a look at an and one situation, as Georgia Tech continues to attack. That time, Debo Coleman with the and one right here again. Don't settle for the jumper, take the contact, and then finish. That's a strong move by Coleman right there. But the inability to get your core unit together on both ends, you could tell, look. And then obviously anytime you lose a guy like Nigel Pack, as they've had in this stretch, that's a big piece to be missing offensively for Miami.
That free throw was Georgia Tech's first attempt of the game. And Tech with its largest lead of the afternoon, 61-54. Poplar's 3, not there. He gets his follow and a foul on the floor. They'll get Gapari, and that's going to be 4.
Right now, Georgia Tech up 7, and you take a look at some of these numbers. Both teams shooting the ball well from the three-point line. Georgia Tech 50%, 12 of 24.
Jobe, the drive, the lob, and there is O'Meara, only his 7th point of the night.
Well, they've done a good job of Georgia Tech doubling him, but then also keeping him off the offensive glass in this second half.
Reeves squares up and hits.
Well, the assist rate for Georgia Tech, and that's the key, something both coaches talked with us about extensively this morning at shoot-around. They wanted to see more of that right there. Dribble, drive, and kick out, assisted baskets.
Poplar's 3, in and out. Well, that assist rate right now, Huck, 18 assists on 25 made baskets. Poplar to O'Meara, no foul. Now they say jump ball. Possession arrow, Miami.
This is just a great recovery right here. Poplar with the nice pass to O'Meara. That's a great recovery.
Are you sure that was a jump ball or a foul?
I'm not sure, but nonetheless, that's a great recovery. But O'Meara showing off the strength.
And he's starting to get more aggressive down low. We didn't see that early on.
And I think if you're Georgia Tech, you got to send somebody at him again. When he's isolated like that, barreling down, he's so strong.
Tomorrow's ACC Network women's basketball games. You got number 19 Notre Dame taking on BC, UNC at 8th-ranked Virginia Tech, and 6th-ranked NC State makes the short trip to Duke. O'Meara missed them both, came in as a 77% free throw shooter, best mark of his career. George to Claude. Kicks it out to Sturdivant. And a foul against Miami. They're going to get Joe Bay.
And Poplar is down on the ground.
It's been that kind of season for Miami. And now Wooga Poplar limping.
When you're great,
Walking around unassisted. Certainly, again, when he went down, looked a lot worse. So, again, good to see that young man up walking around. Let's hope he's able to go back in this game for Miami.
Christian Watson, number 3, into the game for Poplar. Debo Coleman makes it a 10-point lead, largest of the game for Tech.
And I've been impressed with how Coleman has attacked. Again, not settling for jumpers that time again. A nice little shot fake and then dribble drive, soft touch with the runner.
A lot of dribbling by Joe Bay. Six to shoot. Watson, offensive rebound, Joe Bay. A lot of stagnation on offense right now. Jim Larinaga preaches 0.5. Make a decision within 5/10 of getting the ball. Either shoot, pass, or drive and create.
And what they're doing right now, obviously with Poplar on the bench, and he's about ready to come back into the game. They were trying to post up Omer. Credit Georgia Tech. They were almost doubling, shading guys towards him and forcing somebody else to shoot the ball.
3 offline for George, and Poplar is at the scores table. Omer down low, gets his own miss. Joseph for 3. And Claude wrestles the rebound away.
Great job on the defensive glass that time by Claude.
Coleman. Tip back, Reeves, and a second chance bucket for Georgia Tech.
All the 50-50 balls have gone in favor of Georgia Tech in this game. And it's a big reason why they're up 12 right now. They're doing a great job. Defensive and offensive glass, any loose balls, they're coming up with them. And that's a direct result of their energy and effort.
The timeout was by Georgia Tech. 12-2 run for the Yellow Jackets, who've outscored Miami 23-7 since halftime. And a lot was made over the last few days of Damon Stoudemire's comments following the loss to Clemson. The Cliff Notes version that folks ran with was when Stoudemire said, when I get my guys up in here, it's going to be different. When we talked to Damon Stoudemire before the game, he said, listen, what I was trying to say, and he probably used a poor choice of words, but he said what I was trying to get at was I felt this was a reflection of me. My teams don't play like this. He felt that they didn't have enough fight. They didn't have enough to compete. Didn't have enough effort against Clemson. Well, they've come out with the type of energy and the type of fight that he wants to see from his teams today.
And I'll say it again, if you're a Georgia Tech fan, you want that from your coach. Do you want them to be happy after getting really embarrassed against a Clemson team with no effort or fight, or do you want him calling guys out, holding them accountable? And it looks like obviously they've received that message, and they come out a different team this afternoon on the road against Miami.
Ball is stuck behind the backboard. They finally get it down. Now, the other thing he was joking about with us was, hey, so many times you get coach speak. You get guys who speak in generalities. They don't tell you anything, and he tries to be honest.
I had no issue whatsoever, again, him trying to tell his team, look, it's a reflection of me how you play. And he wants them to play more like how they've done tonight on the road against Miami.
The foul is on the floor before the shot. It's on Bensley Joseph. Georgia Tech shooting 59% from the field in the second half, while Miami's just 3 of 19. Reeves has the 3 spin out. Neither team has hit from deep in the second half after shooting lights out from 3 in the first half. Tech's 2 for 9. Miami's 1 for 11 from 3. Here comes Watson, strong drive. Basket is good, plus the foul for Christian Watson.
Well, this is tough right here. Nice screen by Omer. Clear the path, take the hit, and one. And again, it's all set up by their spacing. Miami did a great job spacing the floor, using Omer as the screener. And so often guys get open, and a little talked about the screening. That's a great screen that time by Omer to free up Watson.
Watson missed the free throw. And we'll get a foul on Bensley Joseph.
Right now, Miami changing up the defense again. Trailing 10, 9:08 to go. They're going to extend the pressure here, see if they can force Georgia Tech into some turnovers.
Yeah, Tech's got 2 pretty good ball handlers on the floor in Sturdivant and George. Essentially 2 point guards. The 6'8" George marking Sturdivant. George has been quiet in the second half. Kelly open, drills it. 22 for Miles Kelly, his 8th 20-point game of the season.
Best I've seen Georgia Tech play in terms of spacing the floor, dribble, drive, and pitch out. Again, you can't do it any better. Suck into defense and then throw to a wide open shooter in the corner. Excellent half-court offense by Georgia Tech.
And we'll get a foul on Kelly defending George down low, his 3rd.
And this is what we saw in shoot-around. They drilled it. Again, draw 3, kick to the corner. You cannot do it any better. Unselfish, and I think the key thing in this game, that everybody on the court for Georgia Tech has been unselfish with the ball.
Georgia Tech assisting on 71% of its baskets. And George misses the free throw. Miami's missed 6 of its last 7 from the field, only 9 points in the second half. Canes had a 4-point lead at the break. And we get a foul as Dongo able to draw the foul on George.
And that's set up again. They're switching. So that time again, Omer switches off, and that's great recognition by Georgia Tech to go right back at George, who's guarding Dongo, giving up a lot of size. And again, been impressed with how Georgia Tech has been patient, and then they've gone at the matchups that favor them in this game.
And to shoot. Sturdivant's been one of the top reserves in the ACC this year. He'll launch. 2 Canes went for the rebound, almost turned it over. And now let's see if Miami can push. Poplar, deep 3. Got it, Wooga Poplar. He's got a dozen. Reeves beats the defense down at the other end.
And that's there. Again, if Miami's going to pressure you, that time no safety back, miscommunication, and really Miami with this lineup, they have really 5 guards out on the court.
Poplar swoops in. Here comes Kelly. And the pull-up 3 is good. 25 for Miles Kelly, who is 7 of 10 from 3.
15 for 32 from the three-point line for Georgia Tech, 47%. My goodness, they have shot the ball really well.
Joseph drops it off to Watson. 15 threes for Georgia Tech, matches a season high. the school record 18 set against Syracuse last season.
And I think it's how they've gotten them and the quality of looks. They've all been assisted, and they've all been almost wide open off of excellent ball movement or in transition.
A Tech team that came in having lost 5 out of 6. George beats the shot clock, missed the shot. Cleveland will trigger the break. Poplar nearly lost his balance. George looking for his first points of the second half. Out to Cleveland. Good look, doesn't go.
Can't ask for a better look. Nice pass that time by George. Poplar wide open.
Dongo to Kelly, blocked by George. Sturdivant leans. Rebound George. Joseph hits from 3. Basically put the team on his back in that game, even though it was a loss. And again, today, he has been nothing short of outstanding.
And I think it's how poised he's been in this game. I think that's the key thing. Look, you know he's a high volume scorer.
He hasn't forced it today.
No, and a guy that tested the NBA waters. As we look at a 10-second call, excellent energy that time, coming up with a turnover. And I think that's been the story of this game. Again, Miami, a team obviously battling through injuries. They got a lot of guys out, but credit Georgia Tech. Again, they were the more energetic team thus far in this game.
It's been that way since the opening tip. George tied up, and jump ball is the call. Possession arrow to Georgia Tech. And George thought he got fouled.
I like this changeup, though, by Coach Larinaga. Again, pressure the ball, see if you can get this thing up and down, and then get Georgia Tech into some turnovers.
This time they get it across. So now you get it across half court. You've used up about half the shot clock. Kelly down the lane, off balance. And it rolls out. The tip by Dongo, no, Cleveland. Poplar, the trailer. Crowd was ready to erupt.
That's a pretty good look in transition. And again, that's where Miami wants to be. They're so good in transition. Not a bad look that time for Poplar.
Both teams have attempted more 3s than 2s. Dongo has it taken away. And Roger Ayers says it's going to be Miami ball. Tony Henderson, the official underneath the basket, was right there, wanted help. Roger Ayers says going the other way.
And with this lineup, Miami, the smaller lineup, I like that move by Georgia Tech going to Dongo. Again, he's got some size. Let him operate.
Are you surprised O'Meara in crunch time is on the bench?
Well, I think because they're pressing. Again, they got a 5, really call it a 4 guards and a wing out on the court.
Joseph on the drive. Watson shot fakes the 3. Down the lane. And a foul is called as Dongo tried to make the emphatic block. Under 4 media timeout. Georgia Tech with an 8-point lead. Miami trying to avoid a 6th straight loss.
This spring, the NCAA tournament last season in the Final Four, losing to UConn, the eventual champion. But it's been a challenge this year, obviously, dealing with all the injuries. And if you take a look at this game, 3:45 to go. Chance to cut this deficit to 6.
1 out of 2 for Watson. Loose ball. And it's knocked out of bounds to Georgia Tech. So, free throws sometimes can be an entry point back into a game. Miami 5 for 10 from the line, 1 for 6 in the second half.
Yeah, tough. Obviously, it's been a struggle, but
the press is giving Georgia Tech problems. And Trey Stein says last touch, Kowacie Reeves.
ball fakes. Again, if you're Georgia Tech, you know, look, Miami, they're going to be aggressive in this game right now, trying to get back into it, down 7. Got to take better care of the ball if you're Georgia Tech.
A basket here makes it a 2-possession game. Watson lets it fly. Offensive rebound by George. New 20. Joseph gets the 2, 76-71. Reeves has his pass picked. Cleveland down the lane. It'll stay with the Canes.
Well, Georgia Tech right now having issues breaking the press. Again, right here, if you're George, you got to come to the ball right there. Again, you're going away from it. Not great spacing against the pressure, and another turnover.
Miami in the midst of an 8-0 run. Poplar to Joseph. Cleveland is open. Cleveland hits Miami within 3. George gets it across. Gets tied up, but they will say a foul. Bensley Joseph picks up his 3rd.
Let's see right here again. Now, hard to tell from that angle. Again, Roger Ayers, one of the best right here, in good position. Yeah, he got some arm. He definitely got some arm right there, and he's right in position. I think that's the key thing, where the ref is positioned. He's right on top of that. He had the best angle, and right now, again, if you're Miami.
Georgia Tech with 7:03 to go led 76-63. They have not scored since then. That was the 6th team foul on Miami. One more, Tech.
They got to get Dongo a touch. I think that's where they need to go. Again, smaller lineup, play through him.
5 to shoot. Kelly hoists. Dongo. It hits the rim. It doesn't go. Miami can tie with a 3. George had 16 all in the first half. O'Meara not on the floor. Watson. The turnaround. It doesn't go. Gapari back in with those 4 fouls. He's been a difference maker today. Poplar nearly stole it. Entry pass. Dongo in traffic. Georgia Tech ball, 10 to shoot.
Well, they're switching Miami 1 through 5. Really, they got all guards out on the court in wings. If you're Georgia Tech, again, continue to go back through Dongo and force Miami to double.
Georgia Tech has not scored in 5.5 minutes. They turn it over. And for Damon Stoudemire's team, this has been a microcosm of the season. The ability, or rather the inability, to close out games.
And credit, though, Miami. Again, they've been very active with this lineup. If you're Georgia Tech, you got to be stronger with the ball on that possession right now. If you're Miami, you do not need a 3, obviously, in this situation.
George against George. Freshman on freshman. Now Gapari picks up George on the switch. Joseph for the tie. Air ball. And Nate George feathers this end line and now pushes it across. Nate George has made some big baskets late in games for Georgia Tech. We get a timeout by Damon Stoudemire. Remember, in that overtime win against Clemson, George hit the 2 big 3.
Kapari and also Dongo. Those are the 2 guys. If I'm Georgia Tech, I'm going right at those 2. Let them get a touch. Play your offense through them, and then force Miami to make a decision. Double or leave those guys alone.
O'Meara went out with about 8 minutes to go. Has not come back into the game. 15 to shoot. Less than a minute to play. Georgia Tech nurses a 3-point lead. Kelly's got 25. George takes it away. Watson couldn't hold on to it. Sturdivant corrals. And Sturdivant is fouled. That will be a 1-and-1 for Georgia Tech. And Kyle Sturdivant is an 87% free throw shooter.
Yeah, both teams missed opportunities right there. Watson in transition, unable to secure the ball. And on the previous possession, Georgia Tech turned it over. So both teams really sloppy with the ball. 40.5 seconds left. Georgia Tech at the line with an opportunity to extend this to 5.
Again, Georgia Tech led 76-63 with 7:03 to go in the second half. No points over the last 6 minutes and 23 seconds. Sturdivant will try to end that spell, front end of a 1-and-1.
And Omer back into the game for Miami.
Two-possession game with that free throw. Five-point lead for Tech. And Georgia Tech will pick up Miami full court. Now they back off.
Still have to get into your offense quick if you're Miami.
Poplar, catch, release. No good. Omer tips it back to Joseph. Cleveland for three. In and out. Omer another rebound. Joseph lines it up and hits. 2-point game.
Advance it, but you do have time to go for the one steal.
It was a made basket, so Kelly can run the baseline. Georgia Tech out of timeouts. They get it to Sturdivant. Miami does not foul right away. Sturdivant is fouled now. George picks up number 4. And if you're Damon Stoudemire, this is the guy you want shooting these free throws as Omer gets ready to check in for the Canes.
You said it again, inbounding the ball, and then it's going to come down to free throws.
Miami has one timeout left. It'll be a 1-and-1 for Sturdivant.
Well, teams work on these end-of-game situations. Down 2, down 3, team at the free throw line. You typically have a play set up you want to run to get a 2 or a 3.
Now, if he misses this one, do you foul if you're Georgia Tech?
Most teams say yes. It depends on the coach. I've seen it really 50-50 down the line. This is the key one right here, though, for Georgia Tech.
Two-possession game. Seven seconds. Poplar, baseline drive. It doesn't go. It comes back to George. He launches. Time expires. Georgia Tech gets the road win at Miami. The Yellow Jackets did not make